Okay, so welcome to Funding for Students Entering the Dissertation Stage. And in some ways, this is a good stage for funding. There's a kind of a family of funding that is available early on in your dissertation or in your doctoral work. And then there's a bit of a dry period, and then there's another kind of group of opportunities for people who are entering the dissertation stage. So that's our focus today. So I'm part of the Graduate College Office of Fellowships and Community Engagement. And Georgia Ellers, who hopefully is going to come in soon, is the director of the office, and I'm the assistant director, and Alex Kemp is our graduate assistant. So our contact information is all on here, and we'll visit the website so you can kind of see the resources that are available there. So dissertation funding is broken up usually into two kind of groups of fellowships, and one of those is research funding, and the other group is write-up funding, which presumes a little bit that the process is this neat process of collecting your data and then writing it up. Whereas all of us know that it's not quite that neat. And so you do want to aim for the funding that kind of best fits your stage, but just be aware that life is messier than the way that it is sort of portrayed in these funding opportunities. As this comic says, we don't even know what we don't know most of the way through the process, and that is just normal. And usually the biggest cost of the dissertation phase is time. So kind of keep a plan and keep updating it. And I think this is something that's really important to remember, is that the longer your dissertation takes, the more lost earnings you have. So it is a good idea to get through the phase as quickly as you can, but you also kind of want to keep figuring out what you want to gain from your dissertation. So there's usually some skills that you need to master or areas of expertise that you need to be able to demonstrate that you know. So keep an eye on kind of where you want to go and what those skills and areas of knowledge are that you want to gain at the end, and then try to get through as quickly as possible while gaining what you need to gain. So the research funding, often there's different types of research funding. So there are grants like the NSF Doctoral Dissertation Research Improvement Grants, or faculty sometimes have grants that will have like a supplement that's available for graduate students. There's sometimes internships in national labs or in companies. And then there's fellowships, for example, from libraries or archives, or students who are researching a particular topic. Also, there's travel funding. This kind of falls under the fellowships. If you need to go abroad to do some research, then there is often there's a little group of fellowships for those for that time. There's other options too. So a lot of people teach. It's good to know that there is a difference between the GA and TA positions and then like being employed, which some people know that, other people don't. And if there is a possibility to get a job at the university that is separate from a GA or TA position, that can, depending on the job, often be a good option, especially if it's like a part-time job, because there are benefits that go along with that, and usually you get compensated better. There's exceptions. Some people even get jobs outside of the university, which can be a good choice, but again, you kind of want to keep that idea of getting through as quickly as possible But really the goal is to keep going, keep moving forward, even if it's incremental. So then the dissertation write-up funding, there is a considerable amount of internal funding for finishing up that last year usually. So your department and the university want you to finish at this point. You've been through your classes, your comps, your proposal, and they don't want you to stop. So they're invested in you at this point and they want you to finish. So be sure that you're fully aware of the internal funding on the departmental level, the college level, and the university level. It's interesting. This is a point where it is helpful to be a woman. There's a really quite a bit of funding for women at this stage. So here's a couple of examples. The PEO is a great one. American Association of University Women is another one, but there are a few. So when you are doing searches, you might want to specify that you're a woman if you are. Then there's fellowships, for example, for ethical and religious values. The Charlotte Newcomb is one of those. There's one in education. So there's also like topical ones. Again, consider getting a job. And the other option at this point that can be a good one in the interest of time is to get a loan, kind of figure out how much you're going to be making more or less once you graduate, and then see how reasonable it is. But if you can just, if a small loan will buy you a couple months, sometimes it can be worth it to take out a loan at that stage. So where do I find information on internal opportunities? Really, one of your best resources is people. So talk with your graduate coordinator is usually a really good resource. Of course, your advisor. Other students who are further along than you are, be sure that you're talking to them about funding. Students within your department and definitely outside of your department too. The grad college website, I'm just going to show you this real quick. Oops, I have to go out of. So I'm just going to, so if you go to grad.arizona.edu and then go down to financial resources and funding opportunities, there's a nice little database of funding from the graduate college. And you can look through the eligibility here. Would you click on an opportunity, it will give you more information. But it's worth your while to look through this list. It's not huge, and it's not all for students who are in the dissertation stage, but it's definitely worth having a look for. The Marshall is one that's for people who are finishing up. So that's a good resource. And then also, well, I'm not going to go there now, but the Scholarship Universe was built for undergraduate students, but they're definitely building it out, and there is more there than there used to be. And people have come up with things there that I didn't know about. So I think it is worth being on Scholarship Universe. It was built at the university for University of Arizona funding for undergrads, but they're really trying to include funding for graduate students too. So I would say that it is worth your while to be on Scholarship Universe as well. So that's thinking about internal funding. External funding, again, talk to people is really the best option. Set up a good pivot and grant forward search. And I will show you, actually, kind of, if you could raise your hand if you're familiar with Pivot, just so I have an idea of how many of you are familiar with Pivot. If not, then we'll just have a quick look at it. So we have one person. Okay, we'll have a quick look at it. It looks like, and then, sorry. We won't spend a long time. but I'll just show you a quick search on Pivot. So let's go back to, just so you know how to get there, if you go to grad.arizona.edu and then go down to Office of Fellowships and Community Engagement, under Resources for Finding Funding, here I have links to a couple databases. Here's Scholarship Universe that we had talked about. The other thing that is helpful is the UCLA and the University of Illinois both have databases that are funding opportunities that are exclusive to graduate and postdoctoral students. Actually, these are smaller databases than some of the other ones, but let's just do a quick, I'm going to do a quick search. I'm going to show you how it is helpful, but they are, it's in some ways more limited than some of the other ones. So we'll just do a quick search. So this is just an example. So you can see how you're going to come up, there's 123 results. It wouldn't take you very long to kind of look through here and see if any of these are things that you might be interested in applying for. So these can be helpful tools for just like kind of a quick search. So both of those, UCLA and University of Illinois, are nice because they're small and they're just for graduate and postdoctoral students. These other databases, Pivot and Grant Forward, are really big databases, and they have funding for all kinds of opportunities and all kinds of people in all kinds of places. So they take a little bit longer to like get a good search, but I think it definitely is worth being familiar with it. And then I'll show you how you can save search as well. This is kind of fun. This is all of the funding that's listed in Pivot, and you can kind of see, oh, this much in health and medicine, and then you can kind of play around with how much money is in the area that you're looking at, which is kind of fun. So I'm just going to show you a quick advanced search. So when I'm just starting off, for a really general search, I don't put anything in these top lines, which later on you might want to do, but we're going to start, we'll say we're in the United States, and we're going to put Arizona here. It's where we'll be doing the work. For now, we're going to put United States, but you can certainly put in whatever you like there. So we'll put dissertation thesis funding there, and then maybe we're just going to keep it at that now. So keyword, you can type in here and it will explode, but it is kind of nice to browse and see how they divide up the categories. So let's see. They're not always the way that you would, let's see, we had somebody in computer science, didn't we? Let me see, let me close this. Let's see where computer science is. Under, I wonder if it's in here. And you can help me out if, we're gonna have to look around. Oh, here, right here. So you can narrow down. I think for dissertation funding, I would do just the whole computer science category. So applicant type, I'm gonna put, let's put women only just for fun. And then we'll also put grad students or pre-doc. Funder type, we don't care about at this point. Country of funder, we don't care. Recently added, doesn't matter. Sometimes this can be helpful. Exclude opportunities matching. Let's say that you come up with bunch of stuff that's in computer science, but focused, let's say, on health. And so you want to exclude everything within computer science that that is also, if you're not interested in health. So then sometimes that can be helpful, but not too much. Sorry, I'm okay. Let's see. We'll do a quick search and see what we come up with. So we have 11 results here. And just so you know, if you find a helpful search, you can sign in and save your query. And then you just click on something and they will send you updates like once a week if there's anything new that matches your search. So that can be helpful. And then it's so nice because you can click on the opportunity and gives you a really good sort of summary of the opportunity, and it will take you right to the opportunity itself. Or if you find a funder that you think might have more opportunities that might pertain to you, can click on that. And usually there's more funding from that one just has that one opportunity, but let's see. Anyways, you can see how you can just play around with the database. This database pivot is quite expensive to use, but you pay for it with your fees, with your student fees. So you can go, if you go through our website here, the Office of Fellowships and Community Engagement, it takes you through the library, and then they know that you're from the University of Arizona. This is the same with Grant Ford. Grant Ford is a really similar database. Does anybody have any questions real quick about Pivot or any of these databases? I know that was a really quick overview, but this website here from RII has some good suggestions on using Pivot. Any questions?
I actually have a question. Hi.
Yeah.
So I'm an international student, so I always hesitate to reach out because many of this seems not necessarily available to international students. So I wonder is the way to filter it out, so I can have the less situation have to ask people, are you available for international students, which can be awkward sometimes.
Yeah, it does, especially early on in graduate school, that is much harder to find funding for international students, but it definitely is possible. And with a tool like Pivot, you can specify where you're from and then come up with opportunities for people who are from your country. Also, I would say have a look. We have on this website here, so under workshop and presentation materials, under previous workshops, we have a workshop specifically for funding for international students in the US. You might want to look at that real quick. And then we have, if you come over here, you can find some suggestions that we have for international students. So I would say that I agree it is harder, but it is definitely possible. And students that I've known who are international students who are really persistent, they do find funding. There is less at first, but when you're in the dissertation stage, it does open up a little bit more. And also, I would say it's really important for everyone, not just international students, to keep practicing writing. That grant writing is a skill, and it's a different genre than the other kinds of writing that you do in grad school. So I think it's really important to apply for things like the GPSC funding that are smaller grants, but give you really good practice on applying for funding. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps. Is that?
Yeah, it helps a lot. Just a quick follow-up question. Like you said, practice grant writing. I wonder how it would be different from like dissertation proposal writing.
Yeah, that is a great question. So I have been in the past few days reading proposals that are going to the Department of Education for a specific award. And all of these students are around their comps or proposal stage. And all of them are making exactly the same sorts of mistakes. So it's a 10-page narrative that they're writing. And almost all of them gave us about 2 pages of introduction and then finally got to their research question. And and you should do that in writing your dissertation proposal. But for a fellowship proposal, you need to have that question right up at the top. And then, so that kind of thing. The other, it's just all these like slight things. Another thing that I really noticed is they have to have a literature review. And all of them are kind of saying, I'm coming from here, I'm using this body of literature, I'm using this approach to interpreting my data. and that's how you should do it for a dissertation proposal. But for the fellowship proposals, you are making a really strong argument that your field needs your research. And this is the hole that I'm trying to fill. And so it's a whole, like the whole thing is a really strong argument for why your research is important. So there's a bunch of little things like that, that they're not a huge switch, but they make the difference between things being funded and not being funded. So this is, yeah, this is why it is really important, I think, to practice. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I just want to like echo what you said. It sounds like the structure is a little bit different and is more concise.
Yes, more concise, and also, I hesitate to say this because of course, you want to be 100% honest. But one student who is very successful in grant writing said, you know, grant writing is a little bit like performance art, that you're 100% honest, but you take this stance that you have this authority that you are maybe not quite ready to inhabit in normal life, but you have to sort of take on this persona of being more of a specialist than you maybe feel like you are. And then the other part that I think is a little bit like performance art is that when you are writing a proposal, you have to divide. It's sort of like I was saying before, like you say, I'm doing phase 1 and this is what I'm researching. And this is the data that I'm going to collect. And then I'm going to do phase 2. It's very structured. And of course, in real life, it's not like that. Like phase 1 and phase 2 are probably going to sort of intermix, and different fields are different. But I think that it's also more structured than some of the other kinds of writing that you do as a grad student.
Got it.
Yeah, so I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, good, okay. Yeah, just again, I think it is good to practice as much as you can. Oh, we already did this. Okay, so we did a little search on different resources that are available to you. So one of the things about applying for fellowships is that you're always like a little bit late or a little bit early for opportunities, and the timing is a little bit tricky. So it's really good to have a nice system for keeping track of the opportunities that you want to apply to. It's really important. Like I have a column here for contacts. So to remember who to contact for which opportunity that you're applying for. Also, this is so helpful to show your advisor, because your advisor might have suggestions for you. So I think it's really important to have a good system for keeping track. So again, be sure you share your plans with your advisor and ask for advice. Help them keep track of the different letters of recommendation that they're writing. The letters really are hugely important in fellowship applications. So they take a lot of time, and it's important to help your advisor keep track of what are the review criteria for the different opportunities to which you're applying, and ask your advisor, what can I do to make this easier for you? Like, you might have a shared document or something where you put the opportunities, the deadlines, the review criteria all in one place, any sort of tips that you want them to remember as they're writing that one. So it's really important to work with your advisor to make sure that you have good letters. It is helpful to know kind of the timing for fellowships. This is a general rule. There's a lot of exceptions to this, but in general, this is a good time to figure out what you need to submit. So this is a good time to kind of make your list of what you're going to submit in the fall. You might have 3 fellowships that you're going to want to apply to in the fall. And different fellowships need different things. So there might be some that require, for example, a completed dissertation chapter. So you want to keep track of that. The summer is the best time to work on applications. Usually the competitions are announced late summer, but you can always use the previous year's announcement. Very rarely is there very significant change in the instructions. In the fall and winter, you will submit the applications. The results are announced in the spring, and then the funding usually begins in the summer or fall. So again, there's exceptions, but this is a typical timeline. And you just kind of want, the bottom line is you need to keep track and then work on them as early as possible. I think it's important to remember that things are going to happen. So the PhD takes a long time, and things happen like pandemics. People are born or die, people get sick, your advisor might leave, your research might change. So it's always hard when these things happen, but I think it's good to remember that like it's normal, that it's like never the case that nothing happens on the way to a PhD. So just expect that something's going to be difficult in those years that the PhD takes. So plan as much as you can for that. And then, as you all have done in the past year, just move forward and plan to adapt. But don't be too surprised by the challenge that come along. There's always some tension with the advisor. There's always a point in the dissertation where all feels lost, but just keep moving forward, and you'll finish. So I want to give you a few examples. So Jenna, this is how she funded her degree after she passed her comprehensive exam. So she got 2 quarter-time GA positions, a College of Humanities grant, and a Confluence grant in the first year after her comps. The second year, she got the Belinsky, which is the University of Arizona one, the PEO, and another one that's specific to her area of research. And then the Belinsky year helped her, the Belinsky helped her finish in year 3. Meg Mills Nova, she passed her comps, and then she was on the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship Program. She got some small grants and from professional organizations and the Social and Behavioral Science Research Institute. Then she got the PEO and the NSF, and then she was waiting to hear back from a bunch of other ones, or if those don't come through, she said she'd teach or self-fund. So the point here is that it really is a matter of putting together a number of different things, figuring out like when and if you can teach. Sometimes like Meg was thinking about if you need to do the loan, but sort of piecing all of these things together. So we have help for you. We have a summer fellowship application development program, and I'm just going to show you that quickly. If you go to the Office of Fellowships and then to application development, This is our summer fellowship application development program. So what I found was that students plan to work over the summer, but everyone gets busy and there's just a lot going on. So it's hard to keep working on fellowships over the summer. So we have this program where we give you 3 deadlines over the summer, June 1st, July 1st, and August 2nd. And if you submit to our deadlines, we will give you some feedback on your draft. The drafts don't have to be great, but you will submit a cover letter asking for the kind of feedback that you would like help with. And the goal of the program is just to keep you moving forward on your drafts throughout the summer. We also have writing efficiency sessions. So we know that it can be hard to find time to sit down and write. And actually these are confusingly on another website. But if you go back to that grad.arizona.edu and then go to the grad center, we have information on writing support. So these are all some resources that are available to you to help you as you're writing. These writing efficiency sessions are Wednesdays and Fridays. And basically it's time to get writing done. And we've had some great success with this. We have a writing consultant who's available for part of the time. So you can meet with a consultant at any stage in the writing process, and they will help you with whatever questions you have at that point. So good luck. And there is luck involved with this, but we do find that persistence definitely does pay off in the long run.